explosion of gold to fill the cracks. Chapter 2. Snuffed out. The villain was taking his time. Katsuki hated it. It left Katsuki with too much time to think, in his opinion. Something akin to metal kept him bound in his twisted position, one hand on his face, the other at his side and tied against his body, two rigid cuffs on each leg keeping him from kicking out. The whole thing placed him completely suspended above the floor. His own blast had left him blind, or maybe it was just that dark in this place. No creepy ambient lighting for a dungeon where a villain's victims were locked up to await a villain's sixth sense of vengeance. Nothing fancy for UA's sports festival winner. This was probably a warehouse or another abandoned place if nobody had sounded any alarms for heroes yet. Probably not a big villain base either, since nobody came to shut him up. No villain wanted unchecked screaming to alert the locals that there was villainy afoot. The blood kept flowing, fluid creeping down his face and neck, wet and chilling fast. Head injuries always bled fast, so Katsuki wasn't too worried. As soon as he got out of here, Recovery Girl would fix him up. He didn't want to have to rely on her for everything like Izuku did, but he hadn't known her not to heal an injury yet. Soreness and bruising were smaller things he didn't blame her for skipping in favor of focusing on bigger injuries. Considering the disgusting squelching feeling under his hand around his eyes, he didn't think this was the kind of injury that healed on its own anyway. The binds keeping him paralyzed had the shape of rope or fabric, but they also had the rigidity of metal and were lined with harsh edges that cut into his skin when he struggled too much. With his throat raw from shouting earlier, all he could do was hang there. Trapped. It reminded him too much of the sludge monster. But in that situation, he'd been able to fight back long enough for All Might to show up and save the day. Izuku had also shown up on that day, and with his luck, the nerd was probably going to try to save him again. This time, he hoped they cut him down in time to get in a punch of his own. Stuck in the silence, the footsteps approaching couldn't hide. Katsuki waited as they came ever close, and his fingers twitched, smearing blood on his face as the door squealed open. The footsteps paused, then continued a few more steps into the room. He could just imagine a dark mask leering at his bloodied face. "Oh, that's disappointing." The villain didn't sound too disappointed. "I thought that by putting you in that position you'd be smart enough not to use your quirk. I guess I overestimated you." Katsuki growled, but the sound was rough and didn't last, his throat too sore for any sheer animalistic fury. What was that?" the villain asked, teasing his captive. Katsuki seethed, but couldn't do more than a struggle in a brief burst of energy against his bonds. Strong metallic bonds, leading to nothing but pain where the edges scraped against skin. A soft chuckle. "I saw you at the sports festival, you know," he commented, not doing anything, evidently secure in the knowledge that Katsuki couldn't escape. "What a fortune-teller you are, predicting your own win of the whole competition. I watched the videos of your fights a few times, you know, studying how your quirk works. There's not much about students' quirks available online. Security reasons, you know. So I did my own research." Katsuki's struggles slowed. Nothing was working, and his body shook with pain. The villain was monologuing, wasn't he? He would have rolled his eyes had they not been literally bleeding. "Explosions. Specifically from your hands. Exciting, certainly, but binding your hands is all I needed to do to render you helpless. Well, I also bound your whole body and set it up in a Catch-22 if you ever thought about using your quirk to escape. But that just makes things even easier. I wonder how long it'll be until the heroes get here to save you. You didn't seem to be on very amicable terms with your classmates during the sports festival. Is anyone even going to bother looking for you?" Katsuki's mouth moved, but his throat was sore. Only a whisper came out. "Oh, who am I, you ask?" He hadn't asked that. "The great, the amazing Spider-Man!" There was some kind of sound he couldn't make sense of. Probably some lame pose similar to one of Billy Bean Boy's poses. "You fell to my spider venom, and now you're tied up in my web." Katsuki made an attempt to speak. "What fuck kind of name is that?" he croaked. "It's a tribute to the older comic books from back in the day. I'm a connoisseur of the classics, you see. Spider-Man was the name of a hero who was also seen as an unsanctioned vigilante and sometimes villain," he explained, the smile clear in his voice. "Classic comics are more niche nowadays, regrettably. I would show you some of my collection, but, well, I see you're in a bit of a bind." Katsuki didn't laugh. He didn't take in much of the villain's monologue, pain serving as a distraction, but the next part made him focus. It was surprisingly easy to track you down. UA's security stops at his walls, after all. Students walking to and from school are completely vulnerable. I just waited and followed you home. A few days of that to get the schedule and pin down the moments you were alone, and then I pinned you down. And now you're pinned up here. This 2-bit villain knew where he lived. His parents weren't heroes, and Katsuki had seen real villains. They couldn't defend themselves if this villain put that information about his home to use. His dad could make a few explosions here and there, but nothing big or useful. With a quirk that was made for stealth attacks, like this one, or even if this villain had other villains he was in cahoots with, his parents would be in danger. He tried to curse. Is something wrong? It was all that screaming earlier, wasn't it? Did you want something to drink? Maybe some tea? Coffee? The villain was toying with him. Back to blathering on with the lame jokes. Katsuki forced himself to ignore it, grinding his teeth. He just had to wait. Somebody would come along, cut him down, and give him an opportunity to destroy this lame spider whoever. Quiet. That's not like the sports festival winner I saw on TV. Fuck you, Katsuki managed. Salty blood trickled over his lip. Fuck, his face was still bleeding. All right, suit yourself. I'll let you hang out there for a while. Maybe I'll come by with some food and water if I'm feeling generous, Spider-Man added. Katsuki heard a boot heel turn on the hard cement floor, and then walk away. The door squealed again, and he found the energy to scream at it. Under the sound of screaming, the villain's steps gradually faded away, leaving him alone with himself in the endless darkness. Hours of darkness, screaming his throat raw whenever he brought up the energy to yell his anger into the void. Nothing but him, the darkness, and the web he was stuck in. Nothing to look forward to. None of his father's cooking, no hot meal for dinner. No bed to collapse in at the end of the day. He couldn't help the thought that there might not be a home to go to once he was out of here. This hadn't been what he meant by taking a rest day. Song was laughing him. He just knew it, damn it. Katsuki knew when night came. With nothing to do but wait and listen for either the villain or a potential rescuer to come, he noticed the change in sounds. Noises of the daytime he hadn't even noticed seemed to disappear, leaving the night even quieter, if it hadn't been for the crickets. A July summer's night, full of crickets. End of Chapter 2.